All right, look, I need to vent for a video. This is not supposed to be some sort of like rage bait where, you know, it's intentionally made for clicks and all that. No, I actually hate doing that garbage. We're not here to pump out 12 videos talking about the same thing and making people think, I'm yelling, I'm with the pitchfork people. No, I care what happens with the game. And to be completely honest, the things that are changing with the game are pissing me off. And I think it's pissing a lot of people off. So I want to talk about it because, to me, it makes no sense. So, again, to be clear, not here to rage bait. That being said, let's talk about it. So a few days ago, Bungie released their TWID or TWAB, whatever you want to call it. For those that don't know what that is, they basically release a blog post weekly for Destiny news or changes to the game, or when the supervillain CEO with 8,000 supercars in their garage gets fired, quote unquote, you know, things like that. Anyway, jokes aside, let's talk about the actual changes coming to the game with Ash and Iron. So, I'm going to talk about the pressing matter that I think will affect most people, so we're going to go a little bit out of order. And I want to talk about the portal changes. So, for those of you that don't know, Bungie plans to do a couple things to the portal. First, for solo ops players, they're going to change the rewards to where instead of getting a +3 powerful drop, let's say on your prime that you're farming, to now giving you only a +2 because they feel that solo ops is more rewarding than doing the other activities, which are 3-man activities. Okay, so half of this I can agree with. Yeah, solo ops are more rewarding than the other activities where you need 3 people. However, this is a dumb change because of what they do to the other playlist, which is changing the rewards that you get from them. For example, in Pinnacle Ops for Starcrossed, instead of getting 2 drops, you're now going to get 1 drop. In Whisper, you're not getting a mid-activity reward at all. In Encore, you're getting less drops as well. How does this make any sense, okay? Hear me out. So in solo ops, you basically run like a 2, 3, 4 minute activity over and over with your brain off. It's completely easy. There's no justification to say, oh, it's a little bit difficult. No, it's not difficult. It's easier than stealing ice cream from a child, okay? And fine. It was getting, you know, easy drops. I think that's fair to say. It definitely is getting easy drops. However, in Pinnacle Ops, you're having to play at a higher level already, like naturally, just comparatively to the activity. But then also you have to include, you're doing like Grandmaster Pinnacle Ops, right? So you're doing Grandmaster, Encore, Starcrossed, etc. So you're clearly doing a harder activity. You're clearly going to take more time completing that harder activity. You know, solo ops, you can complete 3, maybe 4 extra runs by the time the average player completes Encore, right? But somehow you're making the rewards worse in Pinnacle Ops to the point where the nerf to solo ops does not matter because it'll still be the best source of farming your primes or your power level increase, even though you just made it worse. How does that make any sense? In my opinion, the clear, better solution was going to be, okay, we're going to put solo ops down to a +2 instead of a +3 because it is super rewarding. However, we're going to increase the drops from Pinnacle Ops and, you know, Grandmaster, Fireteam Ops, whatever, to match the difficulty increase and the effort put into those activities so you don't feel like you're wasting your time and you're forced to go into solo ops if you want to be any sort of efficient. So just a random example, Starcrossed. Okay, you complete it, you get 2 drops. However, if you complete it within the specific time limit for the activity, so I don't know, let's say 12 minutes is the labeled time, right? Just an example. If you complete it within 12 minutes, then you get an additional 3rd drop from the activity. That way, you're actually getting rewarded for putting in the effort for doing the clearly harder activity compared to solo ops, so the reward matches what you're doing. Same thing with Whisper. 2 drops on completion. If you complete it within 8 minutes, then you get a 3rd drop. Encore, you get 3 drops because it's clearly longer than the other 2. And then if you complete it within 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want to label it, then you get an extra drop. It's so simple, yet we're somehow just fumbling here, you know? Oh, I did forget to mention one thing. So one of the good changes they're doing to the portal here is that based on completion rewards, you can get an extra chance for a prime 2 drop. So me mentioning how you get 2 drops or 3 drops or 4 drops, here you would also be getting a chance for a prime based on all of these extra drops. So in Encore, you could get 4 drops and then also have 4 chances at a prime. So that also gives you incentive to run pinnacle ops rather than solo ops. But if you're a solo player, you still get the choice of going into solo ops and still farming there casually. So that's my thoughts on rewards, but I do want to mention one more change that I think would help the portal greatly, and that's proper rotation. So currently, as you guys know, people just run the same activity over and over and over until their brain falls out of their butt, right? You run Caldera 100 times, you run Starcrossed a billion times, over and over and over again, and it's gonna get annoying, right, and boring. I think a nice change would be that you simply start giving people bonus completion rewards to other activities once you complete a particular activity. For example, let's say I did a Whisper run and I completed it. The chest then gives me a bonus completion reward in, I don't know, Fire Team Ops, and an activity in there. Not a green engram like we normally get now, but an actual completion reward. That way, that change that they're doing with primes, where you get a bonus chance based on completion rewards, you now have an incentivized chance to go to that activity, complete it, and then get multi-drops for a chance at a prime. So instead of getting just the 1, you would get 3 chances or something like that. That way, you don't actually have to run the same activity over and over and over again. If you're prime hunting, you actually have a reason to go somewhere else and spend like an extra 2 minutes running that activity for bonus chances for the prime that you're farming. Okay, hopefully that made sense. I have one more thing I want to talk about, and that is them adding new content into the portal with Ash and Iron. And in the tweet, they stated that they're going to add, wait for it, plunder activities. And my question is, who asked? No, joking aside, like, genuinely, who would ask for these particular activities over everything else that we could add? By the way, with plunder activities, they're not even adding Catch Crash, which in my opinion was by far the best one out of all of them. But we're also not getting, right now at least, 0 Hour, arguably the first or second place best exotic mission they've ever had. We're not getting Sundial. We're not getting Forges, Shattered Realm. Hell, how about Nether that we just had? Nope. Instead, we get plunder activities. And I just genuinely don't understand why. Like, did I miss something? Let me know that I'm just like completely blind to why they would add plunder right now. That concludes my thoughts on the portal. Let's move on to the elephant of the room, the raid, Desert Perpetual. So let's start off by saying I think it's already just a mistake that you cannot get tier 5 armor in the raid. Point blank, currently, right now, in the game, if you're 450, you literally can just boot up any Crucible match, or go win a Trials match, or go farm the Loot Cave on Kepler, and it will rain down tier 5s on you. Just absolutely non-stop tier 5s. As opposed to, go do the raid, and you get tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 loot drops. Maybe you can get tier 4 if you're doing your feats and all of that. How is there no option for a tier 5? And now, with the announcement of the Epic Raid for Desert Perpetual, you might be thinking, well, Sneak, you could just go do the Epic Raid, and that surely will guarantee you tier 5 drops, right? Nope. You still do not have a guaranteed way to get tier 5s, even in the Epic Raid. Let's go over what they announced. I'll get to the not swapped fiasco in a second here. I just want to talk about the rewards first. So, Desert Perpetual will have an Epic Raid come out on September 20th, where it'll launch with contest mode, just like the normal raid did. So, you know, enemies will be more aggressive, more health, deadlier, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill for contest by now. Now, for contest, your first clear of each encounter will give you tier 5 gear to drop. So that's the one and only guarantee that you'll be getting from this update. Now, they are adding an extra benefit to defeating all 3 bosses before going to the final boss to get extra loot to drop, which is good. That's a W. And they're also doing things where, like, you complete certain challenges to get bonus loot to drop too, and also eventually you will get the option to focus something in the raid. That way it'll drop more often in your loot drops for the raid. That is good. Those are W's for this. However, now on base, doing the normal raid, you will now get tier 2 drops, and doing the Epic Raid, you would get tier 3 drops. There is no longer a level requirement to the tiers of the items, like the weapons and the armor, so you don't have to be like, you know, 400 power or whatever. That's a good change, and having that at base is fine. However, if you use feats to increase the difficulty and try to increase the tiers of your drops, you still only get a chance of them increasing to +2. Only a chance. So let's say hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, you do the Epic Raid with 5 feats on. You are still not going to be guaranteed a tier 5 drop. It'll only be a chance for it to be a tier 5. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we thinking? I can go play Crucible and get 5 tier 5s to drop while getting my ass handed to me. But me completing the hardest activity in the game on the hardest challenge, on the hardest modifiers, -30 or whatever it's going to be, I still only have a chance to get 1 piece of tier 5 to drop. Okay, we're dialing back the sarcasm. We're back to normal. Back to normal. Okay, so, needless to say, I think this is a bad change. What should happen, in my opinion, is pretty simple, and it should just make everybody happy. The base raid will be tier 2, normally. That's fine, okay? Just base. Then, if you add feats to the raid, then you go up by +1. So, 1 feat, tier 3, 2 feats, tier 4, 3 feats, tier 5. If you want to do 4 and 5 feats, then you get bonus loot to drop for you when you're doing the raid encounters. So, 4 feats would be 2 drops, 5 feats would be 3 drops. Now, for the Epic Raid, I think at base, when you launch in, you should be getting at least tier 4 drops. Since it is going to be the harder version of the raid, you're likely going in under-leveled, and who knows what other restrictions there are going to be. So I think at least tier 4 is fair. Now, from there, if you want to add feats, you do the same thing that I just mentioned with the normal raid. If you add 1 feat, then you would get tier 5 gear. And from there, if you add 2 feats, 3, 4, 5, then you get an extra piece of gear added to your loot pool. So if you're doing 4 feats, you get 4 pieces of gear to drop from a boss. Or if you do 5 feats, you get 5 pieces of gear to drop. Again, it needs mentioning, this is going to be the hardest thing in the entire game by a mile. You should be getting rewarded for your efforts, and it should rain tier 5s on you. Especially given that you can just go do a random Crucible match and get 3, 4, 5 drops of tier 5 just for playing that match. And now let's go to Not Swap. Everyone's favorite topic to just yell at the top of their lungs about. So, my thoughts on Not Swap. Here's my honest opinion. I personally don't care if we have to do a raid where it's non-stop swapping to get optimal DPS, or if we can't swap at all. I personally just don't care. I'll do either one. It's not that big of a deal to me because it's a video game. However, if you're going to implement a restriction like this, where they're trying to make you not swap during encounters, right? You can't go into this half-assed, okay? Even though they're putting in not swap to try to have you not do any loadout shenanigans in the Epic Raid for the raid race, anyway, for contest, you can still swap. You can literally just swap anyway. All you got to do is change the mods in your armor that you want for like a DPS phase. Like if you're going to the final boss DPS phase, you just put surge mods on and you're done. You can swap the same exotic. So for example, I can have Search Arachne and Immos Light on my Hunter class exotic, and then for DPS I can switch to Star Eater Scales because it's the same exotic, so it's not going to do anything. It's not going to take any of my energy away. Also, you can just swap weapons as much as you want. If I have a Trace Rifle on, I can then swap to a Sniper Rifle for like stunning the boss, and again, it won't take anything away because I'm just doing special to special. So the purpose of not swap literally just does not exist if you know how to just loophole around the system. If you are going to go down this route, I think the obvious solution for this is not going to be doing this not swap modifier, but instead simply have it to where when the encounter begins, your loadout is locked until the encounter ends, or you wipe and restart. That's it. That way, no one can do anything, your shit is locked in, and you gotta complete the boss from there on. Also, why is this going to be on by default if you do 3 feats or higher in the raid? Just have it be a separate modifier or a 6 feet or whatever. Why is it going to be mandatory if you want to put on 3 feats? That just doesn't make sense to me at all. Again, just use a locked loadout system. That being said, I know there's a lot of people that hate the entire purpose of not swapping because they want to do their loadout swaps. And I know there's a mountain of people that love the idea of having locked loadouts because they think that console can't swap as fast, which I disagree with, but I can understand why you would not like swapping, so that's fine. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about their not swap update? Do you agree with me about locked loadouts if you do want to go down that route? Or maybe you hate anything regarding restricting your loadout in general, so let me know in the comments. To close things out, I want to talk about something that Bungie just seems to keep shooting themselves in the foot for, and that is taking things away that should have not been taken away to begin with. For example, Grandmaster Nightfalls. There's literally no reason why they can't exist. Conquests are their own separate thing, and they seem to be just unlocking that anyway, where you can do it as much as you want. So why do GM Nightfalls not exist anymore? That's a great question. I would love to know from a Bungie dev or something. Then we have Trials. Trials got their reward track taken away, their engrams taken away. There's no loot focus for whatever reason. I know they said they're going to bring it back soon, but why was it taken away to begin with? Also, there's just no purpose of going to the lighthouse. None. Zero. Nada. Unless you're a new player and you're chasing the cosmetics that you don't have. For someone that's an up-to-date player, literally zero reason. There's no new cosmetics. There's no new emblem. You can't focus weapons. The loot that you get is garbage compared to just simply playing matches, because you get tier 5s from playing matches, especially on 7 wins, and I believe on a fire team as well. Yeah, the chest will give you like, what is it, like 3-4 drops, whatever. But again, you can just play matches for that and not even have to go flawless. So why would you? Also, bring back the Mercy card. What the hell are we doing? The game is rampant with cheating right now. Are we serious? Like, you run into a cheater and you lose, bang, that's it, your card is done, restart from the beginning? Like, what? Come on, man. I mean, there's no reason to go to the lighthouse right now, but once there will be, hopefully, you can't just have people hope that they don't play a Zimmer or a full hard-on cheater and just be like, oh, I'll just go fuck myself. No flawless for me. And I'm sure there's other things that need to be brought back that were removed for weird reasons, but I don't want to make this an hour-long rant video, so we're going to stop there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, this wasn't meant to be some, like, I hate Bungie rage bait video. This is coming from a place of genuinely caring and hoping that things change. But we all know there's going to be at least one guy in the comments that has no idea what satire or sarcasm is, so it is what it is. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to leave as a comment, you can leave disaster as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.